Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. We're going to go into news and prophecy as we link the things happening throughout the four corners of the earth, all right, to the Holy Scriptures, to show the elect, all right, that the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua are faithful and true. All right, as we measure the times diligently within itself, all right, comparing spiritual things with spiritual, meaning we look out into the earth, all right, and the things that are happening, all right, and we link them to what the Lord said through the prophets, which gives the elect comfort. Nobody's being comforted by these words except the elect, although you do have, all right, non-believers taking talking points, all right, from the Israelites. All right, when it's all said and done, they're not crying for the throne of David to be established. Okay, they want this world to continue. They just want it to be healed. Well, the scriptures say Babylon won't be healed. All right, the scriptures say all authority and rule will be put down. And that's what's being prepared in the planet Earth as you have mass friction, uproars of the people, okay, which are the necessary prophecies that need to be fulfilled for us. All right, the Israelites who have put on the elect in these latter days. All right, this is what we need. These things that are happening. All right, though they're going to lead to, perilous times and danger as we're walking the straight gate. All right, the understanding of why these things are happening. The understanding, because in times past in Israel, the priests, the prophets were the most important figures sent by the Lord. You see, and we live in a time where the majority of our people's minds have been polluted, okay, with all matter of pseudoscience. Okay, they've become atheists. Okay, they've become non-spiritual. They've become beast. All right, they've become like the heathen. So the only ones of our people that are going to truly take heed to these scriptures are the elect. Even within Israel, we're starting to see the Lord make a difference in separation. All right, he's drawn a line in the sand between the true worshipers and between those who are faking the funk. All right, because the Lord is making up his jewels and he's gathering his elect. Okay, because once the elect are fully gathered, all right, all hell is going to break loose on the earth, and we see that being prepared. Okay, this is why believers are being added to the church daily. Synonymously, you have mass confusion, uproars of the people, wars, rumors of wars, all right, pestilence, okay? The Ovid has popped back up, okay? You have many boogeymen that the media is using to draw away attention from the real boogeyman, which is the rulers of this world, all right, who are taking counsel against the Most High, against his son, and against the chosen people to undermine them, to establish their world, to make a name for themselves, which has nothing to do with Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Like Yahweh Shai said, now cometh the prince of this world, all right, Esau, all right, who ruled that Western Roman Empire, who has nothing in me, okay? The rulers of this world have nothing with Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. All right, and they're all in cahoots, okay, with the plan to establish, all right, their fourth industrial revolution, which is going to lead to what John the Revelator saw, where they're going to implement a charagma, a mark, okay, that is going to change, all right, the course of life and undermine the Most High, his son, okay. They're going to X out his son. That's their plan, and pretty much take over and establish a new world. You see? And this is why all of these things are happening on the planet Earth. So the Lord sent the prophets to give you understanding of these things, to report, you see, the news, in the news, okay, as the Elder Hawa goes into, in the news, all right? These things aren't done for, your entertainment. These things are being done for your edification and your comfort, as the scriptures say, to you who are troubled, which the elect are troubled in this world. See, whether you've been following or whether you're just now waking up, when it's all said and done, learning righteousness makes you look at this world, all right, and you're troubled. You see, taking on righteousness, putting on the elect, it leads to trouble in this world, because this world is wicked. But you who are troubled, rest with us in the sure word of prophecy, which is what we're going to get into today. All right, in specific, dealing with Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, all right, and Armageddon, World War III, because all of these things are happening for the purpose of Armageddon and for the purpose of the Lord bringing the kingdom. All right, there's just a few more prophecies left. Okay, starting with the sealing of the elect. Okay, Revelation, the 7th chapter. Okay, civil unrest. Okay, the rulers of the world bringing forth unrighteous decrees. That's going to lead to civil unrest, especially once they start to implement restrictions and that, climate thing here in Babylon. People are going to lose their minds, and it's coming. Okay, so you have the civil unrest. Okay, the implementation of the charagma, which we're going to get into news, Lord willing, later or tomorrow, going into that. All right. They're setting up a digital infrastructure, all right, which is likened unto a spiritual Tower of Babel, all right, where, man will be merged with machine, okay? We see that being prepared, and all we need is one, catastrophic event, all right, like a grid outage, Ovid, for them to, force unrighteous decrees upon the people. And there's a movie, I can't think of the name of it, everybody's talking about, which I'm going to watch it, Lord willing, this week, that speaks to particular things that we know are coming. And guess who wrote it? Guess who's produced it, I'll say. I don't know if they actually wrote it. Barack and Michelle Obama. All right? Or should I say Michael and Barack Obama, whatever the hell is going on there. But in that movie, supposedly is speaking to, outages, food shortages, water shortage, whatever, I haven't seen it yet, but we see and know that right now there's a left-hand priesthood set up. And just as we say the Lord, before things come forth, he tells you of them, they're doing the same thing. And they do it through their movies, commercials, halftime shows, okay, and many other, their music, the elite on the left-hand side they run all of these industries. See, the rappers and actors and, left-hand priests and, priestesses, they're just set up as a means to be the mediators to bring you these messages. They put it in books. See? So we're getting ready in 2024, even before this year is over, we're getting ready to see a whole hell of a lot. So in this, and we know World War III has to come. When World War III comes, Armageddon, that's how we get delivered, so these things got to happen. So as you can see, I have this video here. I have a few other videos. Lord willing, you brothers and sisters be edified. But as a matter of fact, let's get the book of Revelation, the 7th chapter. Okay. In the first verse, it says, and after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Okay. And ultimately, the angels through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, are responsible for working on the minds of the kings on the earth. As a matter of fact, when you get Proverbs, okay, the reason all hell hasn't broken loose yet, the reason Armageddon hasn't happened yet, is because ultimately the Lord hasn't given the go-ahead for the angels to press that button. All right, it's not a literal button, but the angels, all right, have been responsible for how history played out, and they're responsible for what happens on the earth through the rulers, because Proverbs 21:1, okay, like when you go to the Babylonian captivity, there's angels around. When you know, in the Roman Empire, angels were around. The angels have always worked on the minds of the rulers of the earth and of the elect to do what they do in the particular captivities they're in. And this one is no different. Okay? The scriptures talks about there's angels to keep us in a way. The elect. See? Although we catch hell, the Lord, if we're of that number, is going to use angels to keep, all right, the minds of the elect fixated, all right, on what's right. See? And the water Yahweh Bashem Yahshua, that we're here, all right, and still in our right mind, because many are called, but few are chosen. We know we've been called, but we hope to be chosen. Okay? Proverbs 21:1 says, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh. See? As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the king's heart, all right, the hearts of the king, all right, which the word heart in the Hebrew is lab. It means the mind. Let's read this in the NLT. Are in the hands of the Lord. Okay? In the Lord, through Yahweh Shai, the Most High God, Yahweh, through Yahweh Shai, all right, there's angels, all right, in their order under him, all right, sent, all right, for particular purposes, plagues that come on the earth. It's all the angels, all right, working on the minds of the rulers of the earth to do things to bring forth prophecy, and it works on the minds of the elect. Okay, so this says in the NLT, the king's heart is like a stream of water directed by the Lord. He guides it wherever he pleases. So right now we see war is fixated in the minds of the rulers because that's what the Lord wants. Okay, the Lord wants war. That has to happen. That has to be fulfilled. But the four winds represent the destruction. It's not going to come until what? The elect be sealed. Revelation 7:2. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, showing you his complete order in the heavens. Just how as cells work in the body, they communicate. Okay, certain cells won't kill off other cells until they're told to. It's community, it's a whole community going on in the body. Well, in the heavens, the same thing. Complete order, and we want that order to be here on earth. All right? And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. People think angels are sitting here to play and tickle and hee. Okay, because of the blasphemy of Esau, Edom, but angels are fierce. Okay, it says, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. All right, using the rulers. Okay, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. So the elect awakening. All right, starting with the 144,000, okay, and then you have the large multitude. This gospel going out, all right, is vital and key, all right, to end time prophecy. So one of the things that we look for is the waking up of the elect. Now the Lord didn't make it to where we're going to see 144,000, okay, which some of the 144,000, all right, are in the spiritual realm. They could all be here, but the scriptures talks about in Revelation 14, all right, blessed are the dead of that number which die and their works do follow them. So when Yahushua returns, a certain number can already, be with him on a chariot or be raised up first, however the Lord does it, raised out of their graves, however the Lord does it, to be beamed up. All right. But those who are here on earth preaching, okay, the message, the new song will be sung through them. You see, and it's leading to our people fearing the Lord. Synonymously, you have all manner of hell breaking loose, but it hasn't fully broke loose. So as soon as the elect are fully sealed, all right, who are of this number, okay, the destruction is going to come. You see? And when you read Revelation 14, the new song is against the NWO. It's against everything that these devils, okay, the message of the 144. Let's get Revelation 14 real quick. All right, before we get into this, the angel with the everlasting gospel speaks to the men of the Lord who are of the 144. And listen to the message that they would be speaking. Revelation 14:6, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to them that dwell on the earth. Now, the scriptures tell you that this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached, all right, to every nation and kindred, and then the end shall come. And the internet will be a big part of how it will reach every nation and kindred and people. Okay? And, it looks small. All right. But this thing is big, man. We're making an impact. All right. Like never before. So this gospel will be preached to them that dwell on the earth. And then the end would come. But what would that gospel consist of? Saying with a loud voice, cry aloud, spare not, fear the Most High, Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, and give glory to him. See, this is what we're calling for the elect to do. Turn back to Yahweh Bashmiel Shai. Give him the glory. All of the stuff you learned was lies. For the hour of his judgment has come. See, that entails the destruction. Before that, the hour of temptation where they're going to force that charagma. All right. And worship him that made heaven, earth, and the sea and the fountains of water. Because the world, Esau, Edom, the beast, is telling you to worship his image in Revelation, the 13th chapter, right? In Revelation, the 13th chapter, John the Revelator gives us the talking point and the prophecy that they're going to tell you you have to bow to their image, worship their image. Synonymously, we're saying, no, worship the image of Yahweh Bashim Shai because judgment is coming. Okay? And this very message is going to lead to what? And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations to drink of the wine and the wrath of her fornication. So that's what's being prepared. See? And we're going to get into, as you can see here, the role of Russia, all right, Magog or Gog and Magog, pursuant to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Revelation 20, okay, as well, the 8th verse, going into Russia and Turkey's role, all right, in end time prophecy, as well as Israel's role, okay, not the true Israelites, all right, but the Edomites, all right, who have taken that name and put it on themselves, all right, as the scriptures say, who the hell are you to take hold of my covenant, all right, seeing as though you hate instruction. So we're living in a time where Esau, Edom, okay, this beast system, all right, the small hats, they're all being addressed. See, this everlasting gospel addresses all of these losers. So we're going to play this video and hopefully you brothers and sisters are edified. As you can see here, this is off of the tech show. Here we go, the internet tripping again. Russia and Turkey's shocking warning, all right, to Israel and Gaza, Palestine, all right, because if you've been looking, Turkey has, they're not pleased with what's happening to the Palestinians. Why? Because they're Muslims, okay, and a lot of the Muslim world are going to gather with Russia in these latter days, and it's going to lead to war taking place in the planet Earth. It's going to lead to the destruction of the land of Israel. Okay? where those rats are set up. So let's go ahead and play this. Russia and Turkey shocking warning to Israel.
The ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been a source of tension and violence in the Middle East for decades. In recent years, the involvement of regional powers like Russia and Turkey has added a new dimension to the conflict, leading to unexpected diplomatic maneuvers and shocking warnings. This article delves into the intriguing developments where Russia and Turkey, two influential players in the region, issued a startling warning to Israel regarding its actions in Gaza, Palestine. These events underscore the complexities of the Middle East and its potential impact on global geopolitics. Before we delve into the recent warnings issued by Russia and Turkey, it's essential to grasp the context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The conflict, which has its roots in the late 19th century, primarily revolves around competing claims to territory and national identity. Israel, established in 1948, and Palestine, which seeks statehood in the West Bank and Gaza Strip.
And we know that those Palestinians were already there. See, when the state of Israel was established by the British, okay, as an extension of apartheid, as an extension of colonization, okay, those Palestinians were already there. Now we know, pursuing the prophecy, that land belongs to the true Israelites, but all right, prophecy tells us that we would not be in our land. We would be scattered. Okay, now there are particular Israelites over there, but Judah and Ephraim united, okay, are not there. Okay, you have remnants, all right, under, the Ben Ami Israelites, over there, talking about, this is our land, but they got to join, all right, the small hat military, all right, to have so-called citizenship. All right. But we know prophecy tells us, let's get it real quick, in the book of Ezekiel, the 36th chapter. We got a few videos of, and Lord willing, we get through it in a decent amount of time. But hey, it is what it is. It's all the spirit. The spirit is what leads us to do these videos. So the amount of time that it takes to do it is all based upon the spirit. But I will try to be, direct as possible, to the point, But we're living in a time where the floods of information is going out. All right, and those who are of the elect, you're gonna have to, you go pick up on it quickly. Give me 1 second as this damn computer. And I saw, comments, brothers, telling me what I can do. And I've tried, some of those things. I pretty much just may have to get another one. But it is what it is. Until then, we're going to work with what we got. My laptop works better, but I like the comfort of sitting in this room and being on this microphone as well. Give me 1 second. Goodness gracious, man. And wasn't doing this earlier, but, hey, you know how it goes. This is the book of Ezekiel, the 36th chapter. Ezekiel 36:5. Therefore, thus said the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. The residue of the heathen, all right? You have, Ishmael, Elam mixed, those Palestinians, okay? And against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession. So none of them really belong there, but for prophecy's sake, these things had to take place, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of their heart, all right, to cast it out with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. All right, so therefore, saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy, I have spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, okay, which have appointed, now who's Idumea? The Edomites, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart. Okay, so they appointed that land into their possession, and through what is known as the Balfour Declaration, which is like, it's coming out more and more. People are learning the history of how all right, these small hats got into that land. You see? And it started in around 1917, all right? But I have a video going into that. But eventually in 1948, through the Balfour Declaration, all right, that land was promised to them, and certain of the land was promised to the Palestinians. But what has happened is, from 1948 till now, those small hats have been bombing the hell out of, all right, and displacing, ethnically cleansing, all right, those Palestinians out of that land, which has led to friction, war. And anytime they retaliate, okay, the Western media and the people, make this big trip about the persecution of the small hats. Well, if you've been watching, you know the history. And I just did a video probably a month ago going into some history on that. If you need that, just, look on the page, or you can ask, and I'll make sure you get that link. But it's on my page. Some good history that goes into that. And, you could check that out.
Have been at the heart of this protracted dispute. Over the years, violence and unrest have been recurrent features of this conflict, with both sides suffering casualties.
Yeah, both sides suffering casualties. But why? What's the root problem, all right, of the war that has gone back and forth between, all right, these Palestinians and Israelis? What's the root core problem? Esau. See if we can speed this up a little bit.
And extensive damage to infrastructure. The Gaza Strip, a small territory on the Mediterranean coast, has become...
And the Gaza Strip is in the land that belongs to Judah. Okay? The true Israelites. The so-called Negroes over here in America and scattered throughout the world. When you deal with inheritance rights, that Gaza Strip is in the territory of Judah.
Been a focal point of tension due to its frequent clashes and economic hardships, exacerbated by an Israeli blockade. In this volatile context, Russia and Turkey's interventions have raised eyebrows and stirred controversy. Russia, under President Vladimir Putin, has gradually expanded its influence in the Middle East. One of the most significant moves was its military intervention in Syria in 2015 to support the Assad regime. This intervention reshaped the balance of power in the region and positioned Russia as a key player in Middle Eastern affairs.
See, and that's all prophecy, as many nations are going to align themselves with Russia, okay, to come up against Israel. And we know America's going to get involved, all right, which this is leading to prophecy. The least of the flock is drawing them out. Let's get that real quick. Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he have taken against Edom. Because when the Lord sends his only begotten son back, he's sending his only begotten son back to a kingdom, a rulership dominated by the Edomites. So everything that's happening is just weakening them and preparing them for the final right hand, which is going to come through Yahweh Shai. Okay? And Turkey is a part of NATO, all right? But as we've been telling you, okay, the NATO and the EU are going to be split, okay, and separated, all right, with many differences of opinions, and that's all prophecy, all right? And a lot of those nations are going to what? Turn on Babylon the Great, all right, which just, denied a bill, all right, to have a ceasefire over there with Israel and, the Palestine. The U.S., as we'll show you, they said no. Okay? So a lot of these nations that are even in league with Esau, Edom, all right, Babylon the Great, okay, that are a part of the beast system, NATO and the EU, they're going to eventually turn, all right? And Turkey, all right, is an example of that, as we'll show you, because Turkey is a part of NATO. The purpose of NATO was to combat the power and influence of the USSR, which is dealing with what? Russia. All right. And when NATO came on the scene, they were a powerhouse. And you got to remember, the USSR disbanded. But as Ezekiel 38 goes into, in the latter days, the USSR, Russia, would get back in that old Soviet spirit, and many nations would join them. And what's happening over here with Israel is drawing out these many nations for what the Lord describes as Armageddon in the Bible, World War III. Okay, it starts with the Israel's going to get struck by missiles by all of these different nations, as we'll show you. All right, we have it here. All right, Israel is being surrounded, all right, by allies of Russia and Russia themselves for the purpose of shooting missiles there. Babylon's going to get involved, all right, and World War III is going to break out. And eventually all of these nations will come together and shoot missiles over to the west, over to America. You see? This is the Lord's plan, but we'll get into that. This is the counsel the Lord has against Edom. Okay, he's using his own kind and many nations to do things that's going to lead to prophecy being fulfilled. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Okay, when you read Revelation, the 16th chapter, it says the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, which is being dried up. Okay, and the water thereof was dried up. All you got to do is Google Euphrates River being dried up, or use whatever search engine you use, and you'll see that that's happening right now. That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared, which is what? The Russian military. They have presence over there in the Middle East, or the East. All right, or I believe the brothers say Southern Asia. I forget, because really the Middle East is the made up term. But the angels, again, all right, as we read earlier, they're bound. Okay, they're bound in the regions, all right, for the purpose of working on the minds of the leaders. Okay, Revelation 19 or Revelation 9 and 14, saying to the sixth angel, which have the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in a great river Euphrates. Okay. And the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour, a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men, you have the sons of God, all right, the chosen, the sons of men, the heathen. Then you have the sons of the wicked, Esau. The Esau's the third part of men. So all of this is happening to take down their rulership, because Esau is the end of the world. You see? Jeremiah 49 and 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman, Esau, the biblical Edomites, the rulers of this world. Okay? Surely the least of the flock, all right, which is those Amalekites, shall draw them out. Okay? Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Okay, so the least of the flock is speaking to Amalek, the small hats. They're going to be used to draw out all of these nations for war. Okay, and the purpose is to make that land desolate, as is prophesied in Ezekiel 38:39. All right, where those Amalekites are at, it's going to be destroyed. They got to be cleansed. All right, it's going to be rebuilt. But Babylon, because it's going to get involved as well, as we'll show you, that ain't going to be rebuilt. Let's go back here.
In the case of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Russia has historically maintained a balanced stance, supporting a two-state solution and maintaining diplomatic relations with both Israel and Palestine. However, recent events have shown a shift in Russia's approach. Russia just delivered a shocking warning to Israel regarding its actions in...
Right, because that was supposedly the deal, a two-state union. This part of the land belongs to the Palestinians. This part of the land belongs to, Israel. But Israel has not stopped, okay, in their attempt, all right, to just purge out all of those Palestinians. And we know that's why the war is happening over there, okay, which, I mean, it came out that the whole Hamas, that was, set up by, the British and Israel intelligence. You see? So what they do is they set up these particular groups, and they do things, all right, which they put in the media and use to play on the minds of the people. The least of the flock is also used to draw out emotions. Those Amalekites, they're used to draw out emotions with this anti-Sim thing, and the people, will support, all of the moves that are being made in destroying anybody who's against them. You see, but they'll use what a group in the region of Palestine did, so-called, and going and driving motorcycles over into Israel and just doing what the hell they got to do, raping and stealing and doing what they got to do, and then driving off with the with hostages. All right, and they use that as a which how the hell are you gonna come on now. And they supposedly talked about it for months that they were going to do it, but there was nobody to catch them. They just went over there, and this group Hamas, they went over there and did all of this, and then they dip off with the hostages. But the retaliation has just been absolutely brutal. Okay, they're blowing up hospitals, they're blowing up schools, they're blowing up everything. Okay, they blew up a refugee camp, saying one of the villains was in that refugee camp. They was like, well, did y'all kill him? Well, we don't know. We just blew up the whole thing, just off and all matter of people. You see, and a lot of people are waking up to wait a minute. All right, wait a minute. So Turkey is now stepping in, like, wait a minute, telling Israel that if you don't stop, this is going to happen. Okay? Which goes against the interests of NATO. So we're living in some very interesting times, all right? And we know Turkey and Russia, all right, got deals backdoor. Because Turkey has always kind of like been on the fence. And Turkey is NATO's most powerful military, one of their most, maybe in the top two, the most powerful military members. So if Turkey withdraws from NATO and joins with Russia, which that's what prophecy speaks to, as we'll show you, all right, that can mean that can be a big blow to this beast system. And we know it's going to happen because it's prophesied to happen.
Gaza, Palestine. The warning came after a series of incidents involving Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, which resulted in civilian casualties and widespread destruction.
Civilian casualties.
Was delivered through diplomatic channels, urging Israel to exercise restraint and avoid disproportionate use of force in Gaza. The Russian government expressed concern about the escalating violence and emphasized the need for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. This warning took many by surprise, as it marked a departure from Russia's previous approach of maintaining equidistance between Israel and Palestine. The move was seen as an attempt by Russia to assert its influence in the region and position itself as a mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Turkey, under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has also played a significant role in the Middle East geopolitical landscape. Turkey has been a vocal supporter of the Palestinian cause and has had strained relations with Israel in recent years. Turkey also just issued an alarming warning to Israel in response to the escalating violence in Gaza. President Erdogan condemned Israeli actions in the strongest terms and called for an immediate end to the airstrikes. Turkey also threatened to take action to protect Palestinian civilians if the violence continued. Turkey's warning resonated with many in the Muslim world, where the Palestinian issue is a deeply emotional and politically charged topic. The Turkish government's stance reflected its commitment to championing the Palestinian cause and its desire to position itself as a regional leader in the Muslim-majority world. The warnings issued by Russia and Turkey regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict highlight the complex regional dynamics at play in the Middle East. Both countries have their interests and motivations for getting involved in the conflict. Russia's motivation stems from...
And it's really prophecy, okay? As we're going to show you in Ezekiel 38.
Its desire to expand its influence in the region and assert itself as a major player in Middle Eastern affairs. By taking a more active role in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Russia seeks to enhance its diplomatic leverage and strengthen its position in the region. Turkey's involvement, on the other hand, is driven by its historical and ideological ties to the Palestinian cause. Turkey has positioned itself as a champion of Palestinian rights and has sought to build alliances with other Muslim-majority countries that share similar sentiments. The warnings issued by Russia and Turkey have undoubtedly put Israel on edge. While Israel has traditionally enjoyed strong support from the United States, these warnings signal a shift in the...
See, Israel has strong support from the United States. Okay, because Israel was established by the British. See, that the state of Israel. You know, the Balfour Declaration, which again, we have history on that. We ain't got to go into it. Okay, so America also supports Israel because America came out of the British, right?
Geopolitical landscape. Israel must now navigate a more complex web of international relations, with Russia and Turkey exerting pressure on the diplomatic front. Israel's response to these warnings has been cautious. The Israeli government has emphasized its right to self-defense and its commitment to safeguarding its citizens from threats posed by militant groups in Gaza. However, it has also expressed a willingness.
It's a militant group over there, but they're bombing everything. This is one group. Again, that's like some Crips, all right, in Compton, going and doing some dirt, all right, in a particular in a state, in another state, and then going back to Compton, and the response is just bombing Compton. Well, it was just the Crips that did that, not the whole area of Compton. Just to give you a perspective, all right, in our terms, you know, stuff we know, you know.
Willingness to engage in diplomatic talks to de-escalate the situation. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has proven resistant to resolution, with numerous attempts at peace negotiations over the years yielding limited results. The involvement of regional powers like Russia and Turkey in issuing warnings and advocating for a peaceful resolution adds a new layer of complexity to the conflict. International mediation has played a critical role in past attempts to broker peace in the region. The United States has traditionally been the primary mediator, but its role has faced scrutiny due to its close ties with Israel. The involvement of Russia and Turkey could potentially provide an alternative avenue for diplomacy. However, the effectiveness of international mediation in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains uncertain. The deep-seated historical, religious, and political complexities of the conflict make it exceptionally challenging to resolve.
And when you read these comments, people are waking up to those small hats. They're talking about the book, The 13th Tribe, which exposes the small hats. Well, one of their own used in that book exposed that they're not the true people. That's why he called them the 13th tribe. All right. Then it deals with, you know, Ashkenazi, which, you know, those were, you know, small hats that came from Germany, which people get that misconstrued, thinking that they're the sons of Japheth. No, they're just small hats that came from that region. All right. And, you know, Poland, you know, Germany and whatever, you know, but if you just read the comments, people are against the small hats, you know, but Western media, all right, is pushing what? Propaganda to justify what they're doing. All right. But you have Russia, Turkey, and many other countries condemning them.
Nevertheless, the involvement of additional mediators may increase the pressure on all parties to come to the negotiating table. The warnings issued by Russia and Turkey to Israel in the context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict must be understood within the broader geopolitical context of the Middle East. Russia's increased involvement in the region has been met with mixed reactions from other regional powers and global actors. While some countries view Russia as a stabilizing force, others are wary of its intentions and the potential consequences of its actions. Turkey's assertive foreign policy under President Erdogan has also drawn attention and criticism. Its actions in Syria, Libya, and the Eastern Mediterranean have raised concerns among neighboring countries and within NATO.
It's all prophecy.
In the case of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Russia and Turkey's warnings to Israel reflect their broader strategies in the Middle East. Russia seeks to strengthen its influence and leverage diplomatic opportunities, while Turkey aims to position itself as a leader in the Muslim world and advocate for the Palestinian cause. International organizations such as the United Nations and the Arab League have played a significant role in addressing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. These organizations have consistently called for a peaceful two-state solution and condemned violence on both sides. The warnings issued by Russia and Turkey align with the stance of many international organizations, which emphasize the need for a peaceful resolution to the conflict and the protection of Palestinian rights.
All right, but then it ain't gonna be no peace. All right, they just called for a ceasefire. All right, but U.S. Babylon stands alone as the sole vote against the UN ceasefire resolution. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
Israel's flag now flies high in the center of Gaza City, overlooking a desolate, apocalyptic landscape. This is one of the most intense assaults on a population the world.
Off of one group doing what they did, so-called, right? Look what they did over there in that region. Using AI to create targets. They're doing all kind of wickedness. It's coming out. The elder Requia Kwam has been going into it a lot. You know, GMS Fear the Most High 7 Ba, if you go to that page.
World has ever seen, and it's not over yet.
More than 18,000 Gazans have died and thousands more are missing, buried under the rubble. Others are severely injured and are unable to get the health care they need as hospitals are unable to function due to a lack of fuel and due to repeated aerial bombardments by the Israeli Defense Forces. Now, with that said, the United States decided to be the sole country in the United Nations to basically veto a resolution that called for a ceasefire. Now, the Security Council vote on the resolution backed by Arab states had 13 in favor and 1, the United States, against, while the United Kingdom abstained. U.S. Deputy Representative to the UN, Robert Wood, said the resolution was rushed and ignored U.S. diplomatic efforts to get more aid into Gaza and free hostages taken by Hamas militants in the October 7th attack on Israel. Now, what he left out of that ridiculous argument was the absolute terror that civilians have been living with in Gaza as the IDF bombs not only the northern region of the Gaza Strip, but also the south. There is literally nowhere for anyone to go for them to be safe from these bombardments, from these bombings. Robert Wood also said that the resolution's authors declined to condemn Hamas's October 7th attack that killed 1,200 people, including women, children, and the elderly. Now, something I wouldn't have expected, but here we are. Senator Bernie Sanders, one of the top progressives in Congress, opposes a ceasefire. During an interview over the weekend on CBS News, he said the following: in terms of a permanent ceasefire, I don't know how you can have a permanent ceasefire when Hamas, who has said before October 7th and after September 7th that they want to destroy Israel, they want a permanent war. I don't know how you have a permanent ceasefire with an attitude like that. Now, a ceasefire would protect the journalists, humanitarian aid workers.
Because they want control of the region. They just like they always do, just like they did over here in the America to the Native Americans. Okay, any kickback or any retaliation to what they do, they're able to say, look at what they're doing, and then they're able to just bomb the shit out of you, destroy, and that justifies them continuing in their absolute chaotic destruction of your region and your people. See? And then they're even able to set up groups that do the bidding, okay, that do their bidding, and they're able to point that group out and say, look, this justifies us destroying, and eventually they just have control of the region, all right, the oil, the resources, and everything else, which there's a lot in the Gaza Strip, all right? So they want to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of there and set up, all right, their people. It's the same thing that they've been doing. This is just an extension of colonization, apartheid, all of that. That's what's happening over there, point blank, period. Okay, and we don't take the side of either of them. We're just bringing out the truth of the matter according to prophecy.
And doctors who have been, slaughtered by Israeli airstrikes, but no consideration for them. Because God forbid we actually consider the ratio of civilians that are getting killed versus alleged Hamas militants that the IDF is claiming that they're going after.
Okay, so I believe that Bernie's in favor of the ceasefire resolution. He's just saying that he doesn't want a permanent ceasefire because how can you negotiate when Hamas wants to kill all the Jews? Well, how do you negotiate when Israel won't end the occupation for 56 years? So it's the number one problem is occupation. And Bernie, to be fair, is on the right side of that. He doesn't want the occupation. He wants a two-state solution, etc. But everybody's in America's favorite sport is ignoring the fact that these people have been kept in
which, bringing it back to prophecy, where is the prophecy of a two-state solution outside of Ezekiel 36, where we just read, where the residue of the heathen appointed the land into their possession, the Edomites and the residue of the heathen, all right, which are the, Palestine and whoever else. But what prophecy says when the true Israelites return back to that land, there's going to be an agreement to where heathen get inheritance? That's not prophesied. just a footnote. So watch a little bit more of this, and we'll get some more videos and some more scriptures, and we'll close out.
An open-air prison for over 50 years now. So imagine, just reverse the roles. And I know people get really touchy when it's the same exact fact pattern, but you reverse ethnicities. So if Jewish people had been kept in open-air prisons for 56 years, would we all be like, how dare you fight back? You shouldn't love the Germans. You should love the Palestinians. You should love whoever it is.
Right.
Or so what? They're keeping you in a ghetto and you have no rights and you have no country and you have no existence. Shut up and take it and love your occupier. And oh, by the way, if you fight back, it's your fault. Can you imagine? That would be horrific if anyone did that to the Jews. It's also horrific when you do it to the Palestinians. These are super simple concepts.
So, Jake, I've been seeing some pushback against the notion that Gazans have been living in an...
See this? So somebody put this here. Hamas is the perfect enemy for the Zionists, but until recently, I didn't know that Netanyahu has directly supported Hamas financially. You see that? This is how these devils operate. And it's come out. We got the proof. But the and all of them are wicked. We don't stand for any of them, but the bottom line is this is all prophecy.
Open air prison. Now, I know what you're referring to when you describe it that way, but I think it's worth revisiting why people describe the conditions in Gaza that way, because there's this video that's floating around. I don't know when that video was shot. It shows beautiful scenes of Gaza. Oh, but Gaza's so beautiful. How could this be an open air prison? So talk about why it's referred to as an open air prison.
So first of all, they don't have their own sovereign state. That means they cannot make any decisions regarding foreign policy. And if they make any decisions domestically that Israel doesn't agree with, they can cut off the water, the power, the electricity. They could drop 2,000-pound bombs on them and kill 18,000 of their civilians with no recourse, nothing.
But
okay?
Gazans can leave, though, right?
No, they cannot leave. They do not control their own borders. They do not control their own government.
Interesting.
They don't have any military. They are not a country. So again, we have the great irony of Israeli supporters going, "Oh my God, if the Palestinians had it their way, Israel wouldn't be a country." Well, but Israel is a country. Because of Israel, Palestine is not a country. But you're not worried about that at all because Palestinian lives don't matter, right? Be honest with yourself. You don't care about Palestinian lives at all. At all. Don't pretend that, oops, did I occupy them for 56 years? They can't control anything. And by the way, the minute that you disagree with Israel at all, or not even you, but someone else in the same area does something wrong, we're going to come by. It doesn't matter if you're a dentist, a shopkeeper, or whatever you are. We're going to strip you naked in the middle of the town. We're going to gag your mouth and have you just wearing underwear. And then we're going to take pictures of you and humiliate you in the whole world. Oh, by the way, that's after we kill your family.
Yeah.
But you see how it's your fault. So, Bernie, I love you, brother. You're right about 90% of it, and I appreciate you. But please don't tell me about how, it's Hamas's fault, the Palestinians' fault for this problem being here in the first place. As we're going to show you a little bit later in the program, Netanyahu has been trying to prop up Hamas. That's already horrible. So don't tell me, Hamas did something wrong. Well, then if that's the case, then it's Netanyahu's fault. And it's the Israeli government's fault that has allowed Hamas to fester instead of getting to a two-state solution. But more importantly, the reason they bolstered Hamas, according to reporting from the New York Times and almost every major paper in Israel, is because Netanyahu didn't want a two-state solution. So he thought Hamas continuing to create problems for Israel and the Palestinian authorities in the West Bank would be helpful for him politically. So it is literally Netanyahu and the Israeli government who does not want peace, does not want a two-state solution, and wants a permanent occupation. They are totally guilty.
I think it's important, when explosive claims like that are made, I think it's important.
So you can watch the rest of this video, the Young Turks, all right? But it's just going into some of the hypocrisy. But I want to go back here, and I want to play this video. Let's see here. Let's go to this one. Let's get a scripture real quick. This is Jeremiah 51:25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain. Okay, and the small hats are a part of that. But this is speaking to Babylon the Great, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. See? And I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for fountains, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord. And this is what's coming to Babylon the Great. Okay, and the state of Israel, that's going to be destroyed, but that region is going to be rebuilt. Okay, set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. See, call together against her, all right, the kingdoms of Arawat, all right, Mini and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her, cause her horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. All right. Now, Ararat is Turkey. Okay, Ararat. Let's see if I believe it says it. All right, but that's Ararat where the ark rested. Noah's the rested in Turkey. Ararat, which as you can see here, let's get it real quick. Ararat. Okay. The region of eastern Armenia, which that's Turkey. We'll show you. Where Noah's Ark came to rest. Ararat. Let's see here. Which Armenia, Turkey, that's the region prophesied in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Okay. To, because let's just Google it real quick. Let's Google. Give me 1 second here. Because it keeps saying where Noah's Ark rested, right? Damn, what happened? Maybe that was a mistake, but as you can see here, Ararat, all right, as we'll show you, there was one that blatantly said Turkey. But as you can see here, Genesis 8:4, the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day, all right, up on the mountains of Ararat, all right, which Armenia, as we'll show you, all right, that's all in the same region, okay, which ties to Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Okay, the Turkey is going to eventually withdraw from NATO and align themselves with Russia. Okay, give me 1 second here. Between the river Xerxes, the site where Noah's Ark came to rest. Let's go here. Where did Noah's Ark land? All right, Mount Ararat. Okay. As you can see there, but let's just type in Turkey. One of the mountain's 2 peaks, all right, the greater Ararat is with an elevation, yada yada, the tallest peak in Turkey, according to the book of Genesis, which is the first book of the Hebrew Bible, yada, yada, yada. So, see here. This Noah's Ark in Armenia or Turkey. It's in that region. Okay. The ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat, located in the ancient kingdom of Urartu, which now includes Armenia and parts of eastern Turkey and Iran, which these are the lands where ultimately Ezekiel 38, as we'll show you, all right, are gonna, pretty much align themselves with Russia. And as we're showing you in these videos, Russia, okay, let's just get that out of the way. We don't need that no more. All right, Russia, all right, Magog, all right, is going to be used in end time prophecy, all right, as a major figurehead to draw out these nations to war, all right, and the least of the flock, Israel as well. Now, going back here, this is what I wanted to play, Israel. Let's play this one. Now it says,
in the realm of international politics, alliances are often forged on the basis of shared values, common interests, and strategic goals. Among the most significant of these alliances is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Now it says Turkey leaves NATO after stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, they haven't officially left NATO yet, all right? But the mindset is leading towards that. And it's always been kind of like a iffy, playing both sides thing with Turkey.
Also known as NATO, which has maintained peace and security among member nations for over 7 decades. However, the dynamics of international politics are ever evolving, and in a shocking turn of events, Turkey, a key member of NATO, made the unprecedented decision to exit the alliance due to its stance on the Israel and Palestine conflict. This seismic shift in the geopolitical landscape has far-reaching implications not only for the Middle East, but for the entire world. In this article, we will delve into the complex.
And like this person said, Turkey might threaten to leave NATO as leverage for differences in social, economic, or military issues, all right, because they have differences, which that's prophecy. Daniel, the 2nd chapter, goes into that, how the final, extension of Rome, which is, NATO to EU, they're going to be split and separated in the latter days, but it hasn't done so yet, okay? They haven't openly, officially said it, all right, but this video goes into reasons why it's going to happen, all right, and prophecy is the reason, okay, as we'll show you in Ezekiel 38 real quick.
Complex web of factors that led to Turkey's exit from NATO, the consequences of this decision, and the potential ripple effects it may have on the international stage. Turkey's association with NATO dates back to 1952, when it became a member of the alliance. Its strategic location at the crossroads of Europe and Asia made it a vital partner for NATO during the Cold War era.
And so, these videos are clickbait, sometimes a title, but again, just want to put it out there, Turkey has not officially left NATO, all right? But they have differences of opinions, all right? And it's always been that way. If you remember last year or earlier this year, there was a big earthquake in Turkey after they were interfering and did not agree with 2 particular countries joining NATO. They got in the way. They voted no, and then it was a big-ass earthquake over there, all right?
Turkey's military capabilities and its control over the Bosphorus Straits, a crucial passage for the movement of naval vessels between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, gave it a unique position within the alliance. Over the years, Turkey has been an active participant in various NATO missions, including those in the Balkans, Afghanistan, and the fight against ISIS. It has also hosted important NATO facilities and played a crucial role in the defense of Europe. The alliance, in turn, provided Turkey with a security umbrella, reinforcing its defense capabilities against potential threats from the Soviet Union and other adversaries. In recent years, Turkey's foreign policy has undergone a noticeable shift under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the ruling Justice and Development Party. This shift has been marked by a more assertive and independent stance on regional and global issues, often deviating from the interests of traditional NATO allies. One of the key areas where this shift has been particularly evident is Turkey's approach to the Israel and Palestine conflict. Historically, Turkey had maintained a balanced position, advocating for a 2-state solution and playing a mediating role in negotiations. However, as Erdogan's government became more ideologically driven and assertive in its foreign policy, its stance on the Israel and Palestine conflict began to change. The turning point in Turkey's stance on the Israel and Palestine conflict can be traced back to the Gaza flotilla incident of 2010. A Turkish humanitarian flotilla, attempting to break the Israeli blockade of Gaza, was intercepted by Israeli forces, resulting in the deaths of several Turkish citizens. This incident led to a sharp deterioration in Turkey-Israel relations, with Turkey demanding an apology and compensation from Israel. As a result of this incident, Turkey began to adopt a more vocal and critical stance towards Israel. Erdogan's government denounced Israeli actions in Gaza, calling them state terrorism, and demanding that Israel be held accountable for its actions. This marked a departure from Turkey's previous policy of maintaining diplomatic relations.
See, the least of the flock, Israel is being used to change the minds of certain of these NATO members and EU members, all right, and really is going to lead towards them fulfilling Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Okay, we just showed you Ararat. Let's read it again. All right, in Jeremiah the 51st chapter and the 27th verse. All right. Set ye up a standard in the land, all right. Blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations against her, okay, against Babylon the Great, against the small hats, okay. Call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, okay, Turkey, Armenia, and Ashkenaz, all right, Germany, okay, that area, Poland, all of that, appoint a captain against her because Germany, all right, they're silent sometimes, but they're outspoken against some of the policies, all right, that America has put forth in sanctions against Russia because a lot of these European countries depend on Russia for particular gas, oil, so forth. All right. Then you remember that Nord Stream pipeline thing, which the West has something to do with that. So all of these things are just building up to all of these countries are appointing a captain against her, which that's going to be Russia. Okay. Cause the horses to come up as rough pillars or caterpillars. Prepare against her. All right. The nation with the kings of the Medes, which that's Russia. Russia, all right, is also known as the Medes in end time prophecy. I will stir up the Medes against her. Now, when you go to the, if you get an ancient, map of the Medes territory and you align it up with the map of the USSR territory, it's in the same region, right? Some of the territories that Russia had as it had that united USSR, it's right on the borders of where the Medes ruled at. So the Lord set up prophets to go into these things and bring them out because as a lot of these so-called biblical scholars read this, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They think it's talking about the actual Medes. Okay, when you go into prophecy, it says, I will stir up the Medes. Okay. And this is end time prophecy, okay? The Medes, all right, which that, land was, originally controlled by Japhet, is speaking to the Edomites. Isaiah 13 and 17, this is end time prophecy, okay? Let's check this out. This is the burden of Babylon. Babylon will fall to the Medes. In end time prophecy, the Medes that were in line with the Persians, of that captivity of the Israelites where we were able to rebuild the temple. This ain't talking about that. Okay. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them." Okay, and again, just look up the USSR territory and then look at where the Medes ruled. Okay. We do it all the time. You do it on your own this time. Because if I go and Google it and look it up, you don't know what this computer going to do. So we just go work with what we got. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver. And as for gold, they shall not delight in it. As you can see, Russia is, a part of the BRICS, which is, trying to create a way around the petrodollar. Okay. The BRICS, y'all know about that. You can look that up. Their bows also will dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall spare no children. They have cold. Those Soviet Russian soldiers, they're cold. And Babylon, the kingdom of glory, all right, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. That judgment is reserved for Babylon the Great. Ancient Babylon didn't go down as Sodom and Gomorrah. They were literally just taken down by the Persians and the Medes. See, it shall never be inhabited again. So this is speaking to Russia when it says the Medes. Okay, I will stir up the Medes. All right, and the word Russia means to rouse up, to rouse. And they're being roused up in these latter days, pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, for the purpose of being figureheads, all right, that will come against this wicked beast system and against those small hats. Okay, so let's go back here. Give me 1 second. Well, when we get that victory, man, when we on that chariot and we know that we're done with this, mission here, oh man, we're gonna rejoice, man. Let's go.
With Israel, while also criticizing its actions in the Palestinian territories. In subsequent years, Turkey's rhetoric against Israel escalated further. Erdogan openly criticized the United States for recognizing Jerusalem as the capital.
See, the king of the heart of the kings is in the hand of the Lord. The Lord put Erdogan in there, all right, to so that Turkey would take this stance, which is going to lead to prophecy being fulfilled. You see that?
Of Israel and moving its embassy there in 2018. He also accused Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians, reflecting a sharp departure from the diplomatic language traditionally used by Turkish leaders. Another significant shift in Turkey's policy was its growing support for Hamas, the Palestinian militant group that controls the Gaza Strip. While many Western nations, including NATO members, consider Hamas a terrorist organization, Turkey has welcomed its leaders and provided a platform for their political activities. Turkey's support for Hamas has included hosting the group's leaders, providing financial assistance, and facilitating its diplomatic engagement. This support has not only strained Turkey's relations with Israel, but also raised concerns among its NATO allies, who view Hamas as a destabilizing force in the region. As Turkey's stance on the Israel and Palestine conflict became increasingly at odds with those of its NATO allies, tensions within the alliance began to simmer. NATO, traditionally focused on collective defense against external threats, found itself grappling with internal divisions over Turkey's foreign policy choices.
See, internal divisions amongst NATO, which brings us to Daniel, the 2nd chapter, all right, the last leg of the Roman Empire, which is the revival of Rome, which is fulfilled in Babylon, the Great, NATO, and the EU. Okay, just reading through it. We go through this all the time, so I'm just going to read through it. Daniel 2:40, and the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, all right, and destroys. That's what Esau, Edom has done, all right, and the Renaissance period led to the Western Roman Empire being revised, because in Daniel the 7th chapter, the fourth beast is Rome, but then there will be another little horn, which will be the revival of Rome, which would be the final empire that led to what? The divine kingdom, as you can see prophesied in verse 44. All right. So verse 41, and whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, all right, the end of this statue that was saw in his dream, which Daniel had to break it down. All right, part potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Okay, but there shall be in it the strength of iron. They still have the strength of the sword, of course. All right, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, but they do not agree internally. They have differences. See, the EU nations have, they're at odds with Babylon. Turkey, which is a part of NATO, is at odds with the decisions of NATO, at odds with Babylon. They don't agree politically. They don't agree financially. They don't agree in a lot of ways. All right, morally. A lot of the moves Babylon make, okay, it's just like, damn. Okay, the NATO stance over there with Ukraine, a lot of these EU nations, all right, don't agree, which that's the West, because it was agreed upon that NATO wouldn't push any closer to Russia. But you try to make Ukraine, all right, an ally and add them to NATO, what does that do? That puts an ally for the enemy in the front yard of Russia. So, of course, Russia's going to have something to say about that, which is a bunch of propaganda, but it just shows you that they're all mixed up and they don't agree. So they're partly strong, all right, and partly weak. They don't agree. All right. Part iron and miry clay. Okay. Verse 43, just to jump to the point. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. All right. They will go and take over these territories, make these alliances. You know, even through marriages, they made particular agreements, which goes back to ancient customs. You know, wiggle their ways into these particular regions. All right. But they shall not cleave to one another. So they would mingle themselves with the seed of men, making all these alliances. Okay. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So they're divided. Okay. And that goes to the prophecy in the book of Obadiah. Give me 1 second here. The book of Obadiah. And we just skimming through it, but we got breakdowns going into all of this all the time. Okay, so the prophecy is happening, man, right before our eyes. This is big. This ain't no little, ordeal. This is big, man. But as you just saw, they have internal conflict amongst NATO. They have internal conflict amongst the EU, and the EU and NATO countries are going to turn on Babylon as well, shoot missiles, and that's pursuing the biblical prophecy. Okay, the 10 horns, which are the vassals, the EU. Okay, which started as 10 nations, but it's now about 28. They all are going to turn. The Lord has a plan. Obadiah verse 7, the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread had laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him. So a wound is being laid, all right, for Babylon the Great, for the small hats, okay, which are the figureheads of of destruction in the earth, man. Okay.
Several NATO members, including the United States and European nations, expressed their discomfort with Turkey's alignment with Hamas and its confrontational stance towards Israel. They argued that NATO should remain a forum for military cooperation rather than a platform for political disputes. However, NATO also faced a dilemma. Turkey remained a strategically important member of the alliance, with its military capabilities and geographical location being critical to the security of Europe. Moreover, the alliance's founding treaty did not provide a clear mechanism for expelling or suspending a member state. As tensions within NATO continued to mount, the breaking point came when Turkey announced its decision to leave the alliance. This decision, which shocked the international community, was primarily attributed to its deepening differences with NATO member states.
And again, he's sort of like prophesying that this is going to come to pass, because it ain't happened yet, but this is surely going to happen. And how do we know? Well, we'll show you in Ezekiel the 38th chapter.
Particularly on the Israel and Palestine conflict. Turkey's exit from NATO was a complex process that involved the withdrawal of Turkish troops from NATO missions and the closure of NATO facilities on Turkish soil. The move marked a historic moment, as Turkey became the first member to voluntarily leave the alliance. Turkey cited several reasons for its decision to leave NATO, with its stance on the Israel and Palestine conflict being the primary catalyst.
Right, the least of the flock is drawing these nations out to lead to these things. Okay?
Erdogan's government argued that NATO's failure to condemn Israeli actions and its continued support for Israel were incompatible with Turkey's foreign policy objectives and principles of justice. Furthermore, Turkey expressed frustration with what it saw as a lack of solidarity and support from NATO members during the Gaza conflict. Erdogan's government felt that the alliance's failure to take a stronger stance against Israel undermined its credibility and effectiveness in the Middle East.
So Israel is going to be a figurehead of why a lot of these, EU and NATO nations, leave the alliance. But again, they don't agree. Now I want to play some of this one, and then I got one more, and then we'll close it out. But this is a one as well. Goodness gracious. Let me see here. This is one I wanted to play as well. You can watch the rest of that, and this is a playlist on my page called Interesting, number 10, If you want to check out some of the videos I had here. Don't just click on the music playlist and the nonstop bug out tour.
Hamas committed terrorist attack on the 7th of October, which we condemned immediately. Hamas has a political branch.
So as you can see here, contacted Hamas. Russia admits to ties with Palestinian militant group in Gaza. All right. So all of these things are just happening, just giving, eye to it. We'll get Ezekiel 38. And that's what we'll close out with. Iran's in the picture as well.
Which operates in Doha. And we have relations with this political branch.
Now Russia is being tied with Hamas, which is all bullshit. That's not really the one I wanted to play. I wanted to play this one.
In the ever-evolving landscape of Middle Eastern geopolitics, Few issues have been as contentious and long-standing as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For decades, the Palestinian people have endured a seemingly endless struggle for self-determination, while neighboring nations often appeared more preoccupied with their own interests than with the plight of their fellow Arabs. However, recent developments suggest a potential shift in the regional dynamics. In a surprising turn of events, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey have come together, setting aside their historical rivalries and differences to offer their support to the Palestinian cause. This remarkable alignment marks a significant moment in the history of the Middle East, one that could have far-reaching implications for the conflict and the region as a whole. To understand the significance of this newfound unity among Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Palestine, it is crucial to first delve into the historical context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The roots of this protracted dispute can be traced back to the late 19th century, when Jewish immigration to Palestine began to increase, leading to tensions between Jewish settlers and the Arab population already residing there. Over the decades, these tensions escalated, culminating in the 1947 United Nations Partition Plan, which proposed the division of Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. The Arab rejection of this plan led to a series of wars, culminating in the 1967 Six-Day War, during which Israel captured the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. The subsequent occupation of these territories has been a central point of contention ever since, with Palestinians demanding independence and the establishment of their own state. Throughout the conflict's history, various regional powers have been involved, each with its own interests and alliances. Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey have traditionally played distinctive roles in the region, often motivated by differing ideologies, sectarian divisions, and geopolitical ambitions. Iran, predominantly a Shia Muslim nation, has historically been a vocal supporter of Palestinian rights. Its government has repeatedly condemned Israel's actions and provided financial and military aid to Palestinian factions such as Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Iran's opposition to Israel aligns with its broader regional strategy of countering Sunni-dominated Arab states and projecting itself as a champion of the Palestinian cause. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, has maintained a more nuanced stance. While officially supporting the Palestinian cause, the Saudi government has also sought to maintain close ties with the United States, which has historically been a staunch ally of Israel. This balancing act has strained Saudi relations with Iran, as the two nations often find themselves on opposing sides of regional conflicts. Turkey, a non-Arab, predominantly Sunni country, has historically maintained good relations with Israel. However, under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's leadership, Turkey's foreign policy has shifted towards a more pro-Palestinian stance. Erdogan has been outspoken in his criticism of Israeli actions, particularly in Gaza, and has forged closer ties with Hamas, the Islamist Palestinian organization. The alignment of Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey in support of Palestine may seem unexpected given their historical differences and rivalries. However, several factors have converged to bring about this significant shift in regional dynamics. In Iran, the 2021 presidential election brought about a change in leadership with the election of Ibrahim Raisi. Raisi, known for his conservative stance and close ties to the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has signaled a more assertive foreign policy approach, particularly in support of Palestine. In Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's efforts to modernize the kingdom and improve its international image have...
So we ain't got to watch all of that, but you can see Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, you know, all of these nations are joining together. And we know what prophecy says in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. You know, in 29, the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. All right. And also the Carmenians. All right. If you look that up, somebody can just put it on the comment board. Carmenia is synonymous with the ancient area of Persia, which is Iran, which when you get Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, to bring it all home, give me 1 second here, Salaki. All right. This leads to what? The future invasion of Israel, all right, where the small hats are. And this is how it's all going to happen. All right. This is verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me. Okay. This is right after the valley of dry bones, you know, our awakening. All right. When you get Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, just to show you this real quick, our awakening is synonymous with this happening. All right. Jeremiah 50:3. It says, for out of the north, all right, that's Russia, cometh up a nation against her, Babylon, all right, and Israel first, to make her land desolate and none shall dwell therein, and they shall remove and shall depart both man and beast. In those days and at that time, saith the Lord, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, Judah and Ephraim, going and weeping, and they shall go and seek the Lord their God. Okay, that's happening right now, but synonymously, okay, the prophets are out, all right, and these things are happening. So you have Ezekiel 37, the dry bones. Then you have Ezekiel 38, all right, which is synonymously, the Gog, Magog, all right, which Gog just means ruler, the land, all right, which is the land of Japhet, which is occupied right now by Edomites, all right, Russia, okay. The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, which is the area of Turkey, okay. Again, we're showing you, okay, Meshech, Tubal, right there. All of these lands, all of these, you see Saudi Arabia, the Ishmaelites. Okay, they're going to be a part of it. Ethiopia, Libya, Egypt. You hear them, thrown in there as well. Okay, they got control of certain regions as well. Iran's, Syria, which Iran and Russia has ties in Syria. Turkey, Russia, all right? When you read Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, okay? Set thy face against God, all right? The land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Okay? Meshech and Tubal is pretty much the area of Turkey, all right? Armenia, those areas, all right? But we're prophesying against them as well, because they ain't gonna be the next world rulers as they think. Because you got to understand, Russia as well is down with the charagma and bringing about that NWO. They just want to bring it about on their own means, and they're against the West. So the Lord got a lot going on, and say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. The Lord is against you. Okay? But he's going to use you, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen. See? He's going to put hooks in your jaws. All right? He's, meaning taming a wild beast. He's going to bring you back to that wild, that spirit you was in that led to NATO being established. Okay? Which, a lot of the NATO and a lot of these, America, they think they still dealing with that old disbanded Russia. But Russia is as we're reading, they're getting back into that spirit. All right? And Israel has a big part in why these nations are going to join together to come against her. It says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, okay? And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. All right? So a company is going to be joined with them. Persia, Iran, Ethiopia, okay? Which, we know Iran and Russia has ties. We know Russia and Ethiopia has ties. Libya and Russia has ties. All right? All of them with shield and helmet. Okay? Gomer, region in Turkey. That's in his bands. Togarmah, Turkey. All right? Of the north quarters in all his bands, and with many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and thou shalt be a guard unto them. So Russia, all right, is being a guard unto these nations, man. Okay, I thought I had another video going into Russia being accused of aiding or providing missiles to, one of the enemies of NATO. I forget. But I can find that another day. We don't have to go too much into that. But let's see. I'll see if I can find it on my phone while I play this last video. But this is all happening right now. Okay? And they're going to ultimately come up against the land of Israel, which that's going to draw America, and World War III is going to break out. This is the determination of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and we're living in that time as we're awakening. Okay? These different nations are all, okay, going to come up against the land of these small hats, which we know Babylon's going to get involved. World War III is going to be kicked off through this. Okay, as it foretells in Revelation, the 20th chapter. Esau's ill dealings is going to lead to Gog and Magog gathering many nations together for war. Okay, and I lastly want to play this.
8.
Okay, this is off of Anonymous, Message to NATO and Israel. This is real good. I'm not going to play it all. It's a 28-minute video, but it's very good to listen to this because it'll give you a lot of insight on what's happening over there and the propaganda behind it.
CNN, the New York Times, and Reuters had journalists embedded with Hamas during the October 7th massacre.
A Reuters journalist photographed a lynch mob brutalizing an Israeli soldier. So grotesque, we actually couldn't show it to you there. And here you can see 2 photographers snapping photos of after kidnapping a woman there that was on that motorcycle.
These are not journalists. They are intelligence operatives.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
These hearings are from 1975. CIA control of the media has been going on for quite some time now. The CIA has been exposed multiple times for creating groups, including Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, who were used as an excuse for toppling governments in the Middle East. Israel and Mossad have been exposed for creating Hamas. In 2015, former Israeli diplomat Avi Primor admitted it on television.
Le Hamas, c'est le gouvernement israélien. C'est nous qui avons créé le Hamas afin de créer un poids contre le Fatah à l'époque.
If you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat.
You could call it a false flag, the Hegelian dialectic, or problem-reaction solution. But this is how wars are sold to the public, and it's been going on for all of recorded history.
If we proceed as we are trying to right now, and we go to war with Iran, which seems to be the widespread wish on the Hill by everybody, Russia is not going to stand by and allow Iran to take us on alone. Remember, Iran has stood by Russia throughout the Ukraine conflict. That means that Russia will also probably back the Turks when the Turks decide to enter, although we know that Mr. Putin has urged Mr. Erdogan to reconsider and have some patience and give it time. Whether or not Mr. Erdogan will follow that advice, I don't know, but if the Iranians and the Turks are both committed, I suspect that Russia will stand by them. Now, will Russia directly confront us? I don't know, but you can get very confused at sea in the Mediterranean. You've already got Russian vessels out there, not very many, certainly Russian submarines. You have Turkish vessels and Turkish submarines. I don't know what else is out there besides us and the Israelis, but it's a small area. I mean, if you're an admiral in the U.S. Navy, you look at the Eastern Mediterranean and say, this place is a puddle. Where does the United States Navy like to operate? The Pacific and the Atlantic. There's plenty of space. That's where we enjoy a huge strategic advantage over anyone else in the world. We don't have that in the Mediterranean. So I think there's thinking in Washington finally that perhaps we've gone too far too fast. But if you're going to restrain Mr. Netanyahu, you have to tell him, look, either you agree to a ceasefire, we sit down, we come up with a conference to sort this child out, or we withdraw our carriers, which means he's on his own. And remember, from his standpoint, the carriers are vital if he is going to take on Hezbollah simultaneously. That's his biggest worry in the short run. Of course, Hezbollah shrinks to not insignificance, but to a much smaller problem if he has to deal with both Turkey and Iran.
And to what degree now does public opinion, how is it influenced, in your view, by what has happened with the emergence of such strong anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian radicalism on college campuses, university campuses, the national media, and the Democrat Party, which is obviously aligned with them?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. A friend of mine, he's a nice person. He's made lots of money. I've known him for about 40 years, and he said, "Doug, where did all these Muslims come from? How could this happen? What is going on these campuses?" And I said, "Well, we've had a problem. It's called immigration. Immigration is coming back to haunt us. We've invited, legally and illegally, all sorts of people into the country who have agendas that are fundamentally antithetical to our interests. In other words, they're bringing their conflicts, their hatreds, their bitterness with them into the United States. Same thing is happening in Europe. We are obviously,
which that's done by design. All right, problem, reaction, solution. But it's all going to backfire.
I certainly am inclined to support Israel. I want to see Israel survive. My concern is that we're not acting in a way that would help Israel save itself. We're in fact encouraging the Israelis to go down full speed ahead into hell, a hell from which they may not emerge. There are almost 90 million Turks. You have almost the same number of people in Iran. You start running the math. You really think 6 million Israelis are going to prevail? It doesn't make any sense. And under the circumstances, the Israelis have violated one of their own principles. Always try to pit your enemies against each other, and if you can't do that, then try to fight one at a time. Well, they've blown it. They've united the Sunni and Shia 100% against them in a very short period of time. And I don't think it's a battle I'd want to take on under any circumstances. It's a loser from my standpoint. And, you ask about public opinion. Public opinion in the Muslim world is obvious. Public opinion in the United States, that's hard to gauge. How enthusiastic will Americans be about being drawn into a major regional war? How long before somebody figures out that we have almost no army? How are we going to field something that will make a difference? Where are we going to put these troops? How do they enter the theater? We always bet, or at least depended upon, access to Egypt in order to get to Israel's support with ground forces. How do we get them in now?
All good questions and all difficult to answer. We're going to come right back with Doug McGregor. We're talking about what in the world kind of messes the world. We'll be right back. We're back now. We're talking with Colonel Doug McGregor. And he is raising serious issues, strategic issues, fundamental issues about what U.S. policy is and what our power truly is. Military and political power, geopolitical power here. And can we influence outcomes? That's what it boils down to. Doug, your thoughts right now about going to war with a commander-in-chief. This is not a political question. This is a strategic question, a basic national security question.
No, that's right.
With a commander-in-chief who obviously is not well, who is impaired and incapable of coherent thinking, a military that is now awash in woke madness that is not only distracting from their mission, but is seemingly subsuming the time that our general officers should be spending with strategic thinking and truly asserting our power in pursuit of the U.S. interest.
The word strategy is the key word. Normally, you want to think through carefully what you really want to achieve. In other words, when you're finished doing whatever you propose to do, what do you want the place to look like? What are we trying to achieve? In my judgment, in the region, our long-term strategic goal is to preserve the existence of Israel. That should be uppermost in both our minds and the minds of the Israelis. That's not where we're thinking right now. We're emoting. There is no strategic means and ends calculus. There's no realistic appraisal that we're operating 7,000 miles from our home. We have limited resources that we can project. We cannot predict with any certainty what kinds of technologies will be used against us that could surprise us. Someone once said the most important thing to do when you plan in military affairs is to plan for the worst thing the enemy can do to you. Well, what is that? Go down the list, and obviously disabling or sinking a carrier is probably number one. Do they have the capacity to do that? And the answer is yes, that capacity exists in the region. And you have to bet on the very high probability, if we go to war with Iran, that the Russians will come in to support the Iranians. Under those circumstances, the Turks would be fools to stay out, because Mr. Erdogan wants to present himself as the leader of Sunni Islam. He is already the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood in the region, and he leads the Muslim Brotherhood here in North America. So there is no strategic thinking. There's no hard-nosed, sober-minded analysis that would lead us to tell, for instance, as Nixon did in 1973 when the Israelis finally beat back the Egyptians and then crossed the Suez Canal, stop. Don't cross that canal. If you cross that canal, the Russians will come in. If the Russians come in, we're committed to a war that we don't want to fight. and you won't win. Well, that was Nixon in 1973. We need to get back to some sober-minded thinking and understand that no nation can be expected to move beyond the limits of our interests. What are our interests? Is it in our interest to go to war with the Muslim world? No, I don't think it is. That doesn't mean we support them. We absolutely support Israel. It means that we recognize the limitations on our power and abilities. Range of tribes that have become nations over the years. They are Turks or Turkic, depending upon which definition you want to use. Everybody effectively between the border with Mongolia's border with Kazakhstan, all the way to Turkey, speaks effectively the same language. And we call those people Tatars, Turkic, any number of different things. The one exception, of course, are the Tajiks. They speak a version of Persian. In other words, indistinguishable from modern Farsi. But everybody else speaks Turkic. That means that the people living in the Caucasus and Central Asia can all read and listen to Mr. Erdogan. Now, that's very important because Mr. Erdogan sees himself as the de facto leader of Sunni Islam and also prides himself on being the leading voice for Turkic or Turkish people and culture in the world. This is one of the reasons that the Russians have managed the 40 million or so Muslim Turks and Tartars in their country very carefully. Russia normally has no difficulty whatsoever with this. But I suspect that they've been listening to Mr. Erdogan, and they went there enraged at what is happening in Gaza, and they're not unique. And I would not confuse the rage at what the Israelis are doing in Gaza with anti-Semitism. It's in the interest of Israelis to brand everything as anti-Semitism, but there are many places in the world where Jews are completely safe, and I would include most of Central Asia in that category. No one objects to Jews, but there are lots of objections to things the Israelis do. So that's another distinction that we don't bother to make in the press. And if you turn on the mainstream, nobody keeps you informed about anything.
Yeah. Okay. So you think that that was a false, like, feeder story through Western media?
I doubt it. I think it's just that these people have been following things through Russian media as well as Turkish media. As I said, if you listen to Mr. Erdogan's speeches, they're very, very inflammatory. They're very nationalistic, but nationalistic in a way that we would regard as internationalist, because he's speaking not just to 90 million Turks in Anatolia. He's speaking to another 100 million plus in Central Asia. And we need to understand that. Mr. Putin does, and that's why he manages his relations with Mr. Erdogan very carefully.
Many felt that Erdogan had betrayed his NATO roots in order to reestablish a pipeline from Russia through Turkey, because Turkey's lira was collapsing due to inflation. I think it had lost 80% of its value, and so they're just trying to get their society and their country back up and running. Of course, the Western media is saying Erdogan has betrayed NATO. We should, stop all military weapon sales to Turkey. He's playing two different worlds, it seems.
NATO is a paper alliance. Let's not impute too much significance to it. It has too many members. It's totally ineffective and dysfunctional. The reason that Turkey was in NATO was because Greece was in NATO, and this was our effort after the Second World War to stop the outbreak of future wars in the Eastern Mediterranean. So we thought if we brought the Greeks and the Turks in, that would make it difficult for them to do that. The other reason was the Turks were always anti-communist. Kemal Ataturk was very anti-communist, and he was actually very pro-German and pro-Italian. In other words, we would say pro-fascist or pro-Nazi, but he was always an anti-communist, and so we had good relations with the Turks. If Hitler had managed his own defunct grand strategy a little bit better, he might have had the Turks for allies in the Second World War. And even now, the Turks and the Germans, although they have their disagreements on issues, tend to like each other a great deal. That's not necessarily the case with the Russians. And so Mr. Erdogan and Mr. Putin have struggled as well, because ultimately Turkey is not European. It's external to Europe. It is a Muslim state. It is a Turkish Muslim state. It is a Sunni Muslim state. Those are its roots. It has no roots in Europe or NATO. That's absurd. So if anything, we are seeing much of the world return to normalcy. Who are the two major powers in the Middle East over the last 5,000 years? Persia, and certainly then after Persia, I would say Turkey for the last 1,000. And the Turks have been a dominant force. They came out of Central Asia. They survived the Mongol.
And both of these countries are going to side with Russia. But you can finish this interview. It's real good. I skipped a little bit as well. This is basically prophecy coming to pass, though. At the end of the day, Salakia, that this video was a little longer. A lot of information on these videos. I even left out some of the information. But at the end of the day, it's for the edification of the elect. Prophecies are definitely coming to pass, as it says in Isaiah 42:9. Behold, former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. before they spring forth, I tell you of them. And right now, the necessary things are being put in place for the new things, all right, that he's told you through his prophets. And we're here to expound on those very prophecies to make sense of them for you. All right, because hey, that's the job of the prophets. The spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets. So before they spring forth, they were told to you. All right, and this is the power of this book. So I'm gonna leave it there. Hopefully, I'll edify it on to the next. Shalom.